and salutations! This is Cage's Kiss, the ultimate Cage cast, where we discuss each of the National Treasure's cinematic masterpieces in his life. We also try to glean whatever kernels of wisdom we can from his character that week. And I'm Adrian.
And I'm Linda, but you can call me the Cheese Elva.
And I'm Donnie. I'm a vampire.
A vampire!
I'm a vampire!
And why are you a vampire this week, Donnie?
Because I suck. Because this week we watched Rockula.
I wish. God, I wish.
Somehow it's 1989, and this was Vampire's Kiss.
And you guys want to share with the kids what Vampire's Kiss is all about?
Well, to those of you at home who've never seen or heard of it, this is the movie where Nicolas Cage eats a roach.
Yeah.
For real, not just for play. And there were two takes of it.
I actually did watch Rockula instead. I should note that right now. The guy looked just like Nicolas Cage. I thought that's what we were watching. You said it was about vampires.
And then you watched The Incredibly Strange Creatures Who Stopped Living and Became Mixed Up Zombies for the same reason.
Obviously.
Well, yeah, I kind of wish I would have watched Rockula, but I think this is one of those movies that needs to be seen.
Well, this is the meme, the movie. I mean, people have to actually see this one. This is where it all comes from. You know, this is where our logo comes from. Yeah, the
first full-on Cage experience.
It really is. Yeah, no, he'd been starting to emerge, but this is where the cork really got pulled out, you know.
It's where he pulled his Halle Berry before her. When you win an Oscar for something or you're in a good movie, and then you decide to do Catwoman, because obviously that's the best choice you can make for your career.
God damn it, Donnie. Now all I want is to see him as Catwoman.
I just want to see Nick Cage as a fucking chubby little bat person in boxer shorts.
You gotta be careful. Well, he's already the Man of Steel. He can't be both now. Come on.
With Tony Basil.
You gotta be careful trying to be Catwoman, though, because Sean Young will pop up and murder you.
Yeah.
You know, you'll be in the bathtub and all of a sudden that Sean Young claw will come up out of the suds and slash you.
There is a lot.
And she'll be like, wow, Catwoman, Sean Young, that's me. Sean Young right here.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
Get ready for prime time, bitch. So
to summarize
Vampire's Kiss, yes. Okay, so you can't really classify it in terms of like plot or anything like that, but loosely put, Nicolas Cage he works for a publishing company, and he in New York City. And
I think he's a literary agent.
Literary agent. Yes.
With an accent that's amazing.
Nobody knows what it is.
And I know exactly what it is. It's Chris Elliott from Cabin Boy. That's the exact accent he was using in this movie.
Well,
I'm a fancelad.
According to Cage, the character is pretentious and has his work voice that he uses. Yeah.
And he loosely based the accent off of his dad, which kind of makes sense because he was a professor of literature, but still, I
listened to this with the commentary, and apparently many aspects of his performance were inspired by family members, but he won't tell us which ones those are because they might be watching.
Because they know.
They know. Oh my God, Nikki, that was freaking beautiful. The way you copied my walk right there when you were biting that chick's neck.
Basically, this is a horror movie that's actually not. It's an art film about mental breakdown.
It is an art film, right?
Girlfriend.
Mental landscape, kind of a comedy. It's our director Robert Bierman there did get a little pretentious in the commentary where he says that every movie he makes, it's like he's always doing his two favorite movies. He's doing The Trial, which is also my favorite movie. The Trial by Wells and Orpheus by Jean Cocteau.
If you had said Eraserhead, I would have believed it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Eraserhead's right in line with that stuff, though. You know, I mean, like that's another. So, I mean, like whatever this movie was going to be, or whatever it was meant to be, it became something completely different when Cage was cast.
Yeah,
it just became his movie.
Say that about anything that.
But basically, Cage's character Peter, he sees a shrink. He sees Elizabeth Ashley, whose voice is amazing, and he takes out a different lady every night and just has a series of one night stands. And he's like kind of an asshole, and he's lonely, and he's probably lonely because he's an asshole. And one night he picks up Jennifer Beals, and at least in his mind, Jennifer Beals is a vampire who bites him, and his life spirals even further out of control.
Now, is that before the bat flies into his apartment?
No, before he picks up Jennifer Beals, he takes out Casey Lemmons for the first time, yes. and it's with her that he has the encounter with the huge bat in his apartment,
which, as everyone knows, is the only problem with New York City is all the damn vampire bats.
Yeah,
that's another weird thing about this picture. It's like that's a scene that takes place in objective reality because it's reacted to by other people, and in itself it's really strange.
And apparently he wanted his he actually ordered his assistant
to go to Central Park and capture a real bat. But Robert Bierman convinced them that if the bat bit him, he'd die. That's the only way there. It's a really good fake bat.
Yeah, I thought so.
Like, you don't see no strings or nothing. Horny. You know, like, and they got their great bat on the camera shot as it's coming at him. You know, and he's like, shoo.
No, it's shoo.
Just shoo, go away.
Yeah.
But I guess I was a little drunk.
Fuck you too, bat.
Oh yeah.
I was horny.
He's got that bizarre ass accent.
Like I said, it's Chris Elliott and Cabin Boy.
Mescaline. I'll never do that again.
Oh my god. Yes,
I had a dime for every time I said that.
That's something you want to hear your boss say to you when you're acting weird and harassing your employee. Just tell him, "I'm sorry, I was doing mescaline for the first time."
Isn't that how? But no, that's ahead of its time though. That's a modern apology.
And we should
whatever you did, you were on some kind of pill or medication or something.
I was taking some Xanax.
Yeah, I had a Xanax, and that's why I said N-words.
We should say that Maria Conchita Alonso. And he just treats her like absolute shit. I mean,
that's the whole other aspect of this movie is that she also exists in objective reality, and so there's this whole second thing running where she just has the world's worst boss, and it's Nicolas Cage.
Well, how can you say he treats her like shit when he drove and paid $20 to go to her house while she's ironing shirts to give her soup? Because she had a cold.
No, Alphaman, no.
But then he proceeds to call her a cunt.
I love how often he uses the word cunt in this movie.
Me too. I did love that.
I'm sure all the cunts at home appreciate a moment that. I'm looking forward to using with everyone, and that's to leap onto a desk and point and go, "There you are!"
And he chases her down the hall into the ladies' room, and the old lady says, "What the fuck is he doing in here? What the fuck is going on?"
Yes, ignore males running into a woman's washroom and cornering a frightened woman.
The jangly shot down the hall there where he's chasing her too. That is Bierman doing Wells as the trial. You know, like objectively right there.
True.
And this weekend, Donnie and I are going to Crypticon, the horror convention, and Donnie, I think you should try that out first with Ray Wise.
This is new.
Jump on his table.
I'm going to Crypticon.
Wait, Ray Wise is going to be there?
Sucker?
Yes.
And Sherilyn Flynn.
Holy shit.
Sherilyn Flynn. Can't say it.
And so is our
Ray Wise of
mother.
Newsreaders.
Oh yeah. He was
also in Atlas Shrugged Part 2. along with that guy from Drew Carey, the one who wasn't Drew Carey.
Did you know that he was actually in Ray Wise was one of the people in costume as Swamp Thing?
No shit. Really?
Yeah.
I'll be down.
It's so fucking random.
So Donnie, I think that you should jump on his table and just start there.
There you are!
Or D. Wallace.
Am I getting through to you, Ray Wise?
I'll do that to D. Wallace instead. It's like, you're my 80s mom. What am I getting through to you?
Okay. You should do this. You should go to D. Wallace and you should reference to her all those other movies that 80s chick who looked like her did. The one who played Pia Zadora's mom in The Lonely Lady. She was like D. Wallace's stunt double. You just need to accuse D. Wallace of having been in The Lonely Lady. And she'd be like, no, I get that a lot. You know, like, no, that was you.
Yeah, I'll do it only if I can get fake plastic vampire teeth that I can just totally walk around wide-eyed and Nosferatu to everyone with.
So the chick that he murders in the club there later on, where he is the vampire fangs in, that is fucking Larry Cohen's daughter.
Yeah, right.
And
fucking Larry Cohen
all
of
these
It's
things
Alive
that we're talking about are in the movie. They make no sense out of context, like we're doing.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really matter whether or not we explain it.
Movie.
I mean, there's sort of an escalation for his behavior getting crazier and crazier, but it's sort of crazy to start with. So
there's only one nice setup I liked. And that was when he's believing more and more he's a vampire, and his assistant decides she needs to carry a gun filled with blanks to scare people off like him.
And he wants to get killed. He's trying to get it
in the head and immediately assumes because he's alive, that means he's a vampire.
Even as they admitted in the commentary, if you were to shoot yourself in the mouth with a blank, you would die.
Yes. Or at least be seriously injured.
Yeah, because he would launch burning paper wadding into the back of his throat.
Hell, blanks are what killed
Brandon Lee. That's what I just said. He pulled a Brandon Lee.
No, that was a loaded gun. I thought that was a live round. Was it overloaded?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anywhoozle.
Right.
And because of that, he didn't get to be in the Crow 2 City of Angels.
There's two things I noticed in here. I don't know if you all did.
Okay, try it out.
But there was a random Robin Hood in the lounge of his hotel.
There was a lot of randomness in this.
Wait,
I also learned that the vampire mistress wears pasties. So vampires wear pasties. That's information.
Yeah.
You know, there actually is a pretty well pedigreed collection of people working on this film, both in front of and behind the camera. I think I should mention.
Initial reports suggested this is when Linda had lost connection to the internet. Later, it would be discovered something much more sinister had taken place. While recording her part in the Cage's Kiss podcast, Linda had become unaware of the danger lurking in her own garage. A pack of ravenous, murder-hungry weasels had eaten through her garage door and were quickly making their ascension up her staircase. It was only when it was too late that she had heard the scampering of tiny, razor-sharp talons across her floor. Before leaping and mauling her face, the weasels had left nothing behind but bone. However, thanks to the encouragement of our mother and support of $30 on our Patreon, we were able to employ the help of a Dr. Herbert West. He promised he could bring Linda back for the podcast. Anything past that, he could not say. His experimental treatment, it seemed, had worked, but at what cost? Thanks to supporters like you, we now return to our podcast.
So this is another one that did not do super well in the box office, even though it cost almost nothing. Like, it cost like barely $2 million. And then it brought in like, about $500,000,
Yeah, I think IMDb said it was an estimated 725,000.
Yeah. Stupid ass audiences. I hate you all.
They just didn't know art when it smacks them in the face.
They're damn right. The torches of the damned. Okay, so this was directed by Robert Bierman. It looks like Byerman, but it's Bierman, I guess. He's from England.
Oh.
I found that out listening to the commentary because he's got like an accent and stuff. He mostly did TV movies. He did a Richard E. Grant movie called A Merry War in '97, which I did not see.
And I love me some Richard E. Grant.
Yeah. And in 1986, he did a TV movie, I think for HBO, called Apology, in which Leslie Ann Warren plays a sculptor who does installation pieces who is menaced by a stalker. And Peter Weller is a detective / love interest.
Ooh. Such an awesome cast.
It was awesome. It was. It's a really weird idea, too, because she has an answering machine that records people's anonymous apologies, and then somebody gets on there with his name and confesses to terrible crimes.
I like that.
Yeah, I liked it, too. Our writer was Robert Minion, who appears in the diner scene. Cage yells at him, saying how much longer I'm going to have to wait.
Oh, no, I think it's Joseph Minion.
Was it Joseph?
Wasn't it?
I have it written down as Robert. Everybody in the entertainment industry is named Robert. They're all Robert.
I'll accept that.
I don't know. Anyway, some dude named Minion. Minion. This is the Minion who also wrote Scorsese's After Hours and was accused of plagiarism for it. He had a very short film career. He did something in 1981 called The Office, and then I think he just wrote a bunch of episodes of Amazing Stories, and then just sort of petered out.
Oh,
yeah.
I like that though.
Our movie was shot by Stefan either Chapsky or Tsapsky. It's got a Z in it, and he's from Eastern Europe, and I don't know how to say that. Sorry. But he shot Child's Play 2, Errol Morris's The Thin Blue Line, Flashback with Dennis Hopper and Kiefer Sutherland. And he also went on to work for Tim Burton and photographed Edward Scissorhands, and Batman Returns. And if he'd done a third Edward movie, he probably would have shot that too. Alva is Maria Conchita Alonso of The Running Man, and Colors, and Predator 2. Predator 2, yeah. with Morton Downey Jr., who's, I don't know if he's dead, but he should be.
I hope so.
And then she starred alongside Michael Keaton in Touch and Go in 1986.
Whoa.
Which is kind of like Something Wild, where it's like this romantic comedy that sort of morphs into a weird thriller.
Was it me, or did Alva never ever change her work outfit?
Yeah, no, she's, it's funny because in the commentary, Bierman keeps insisting that the film isn't that dated, but then you get the 80s office wear.
Right.
Like, Cage's suit is not dated. However, what women had to wear in the workplace in the 80s is just horrendous.
No kidding, she looked like a Protestant mom.
Yeah, no, but that was sort of a theme though. The shit with the shoulders, the weird shit with the shoulders, and
shoulder pads,
and the weird shape to it, and everything had a print.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh god, I felt so bad for her.
And bows,
bows. Well, you remember frickin' Holly Hunter in Raising Arizona. At one point, they got her in that like adult woman's overall kind of outfit, and it's like cute, and it's in fucking corduroy or something, Alva though, like she's like the reality of this film.
Agreed.
Well, until a point.
Until that weird basement scene.
You mean the one where he tells her, "Shoot me or I'll fire you, and then you can deal with unemployment."
She keeps shooting the floor because she can't bring herself. Even though they're blanks, she can't even aim them at him. It's like, not the floor, Alva, me.
I think she did that on purpose because, she didn't want him to know that they were blanks.
Yeah, well, and the whole point's to scare him off,
How do you consider approaching that situation?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, most people,
unemployment or murder.
Yeah. Well, gunfire's all loud and shit, like most people react to it.
Well, I don't know.
When they don't think they're a vampire.
Some of my old bosses, I don't think it would take much thought. I think it would just.
Nick Cage did make a choice. Is like murder or unemployment. Guess it's gonna be rape. Which kudos to them on going artsy with that. It's like, I'm gonna rip your shirt.
Yeah, no, it didn't turn into Tim Roth's The War Zone or like a Lars von Trier movie
or Irreversible.
Irreversible. Yeah. Did I mention Casey Lemmons, who played Jackie?
You should mention her a lot.
Okay,
more.
So Casey Lemmons, who plays Jackie, who Cage takes out once during the bat attack and then later abandons at the gallery.
Yes,
because he's got to take a piss.
So she's an actress-director. As an actress, she was in Candyman, the first one, and she was in Hard Target. And as a director, she did Eve's Bayou and fucking Caveman's Valentine with Samuel L. Jackson, which is another hallucinatory New York movie, and it's amazing.
As it should be.
If you haven't seen it yet,
she's amazing.
And she's fucking amazing, yeah. Our score is by Colin Towns, who actually used a Soviet orchestra because they came really cheap. And for those of you not familiar with the Soviet film industry, the best thing about it was budget was never a concern. But he scored The Haunting of Julia with Mia Farrow, which was like a subtle take on The Ring in 1977. And he did Rawhead Rex and Space Truckers for Stuart Gordon.
Yay!
And I was in Mortal Kombat with a fucking bat. Holy shit.
Mortal Kombat!
A bat? Yeah, holy shit.
And apparently this is something that he wanted to do almost like as a response to Moonstruck.
Yeah. He didn't really appreciate Moonstruck at the time, even though that's like the golden goose for him.
Yeah, he said, like, looking back at it, he could see that it was a beautiful movie, but he says, quote, "But then I revolted and did Vampire's Kiss because I needed to get back to that angry young audience." And
he wanted to get back to his roots.
Well, no, it makes total sense. I mean, if you look at a lot of not just careers, but just like film industry and series trends, like there's a lot of pendulum swing stuff that takes place. You know,
he didn't want to become Mark Hamill and get typecast.
Well,
that movie was bad, but I could go badder.
So yeah, he was originally cast in it. But then he pulled out because everybody, including his agent, were telling him not to do it. And then Judd Nelson was cast, but then he decided he didn't want to do it. And then Dennis Quaid was cast, and
isn't 89 the same year that Judd Nelson did Relentless?
Oh, Lord.
Maybe.
Did you guys see Relentless?
With all the people pulling out of this movie was a whore.
It wasn't. Well, if you hear the commentary too, apparently shooting the movie was just utter chaos.
I believe it.
And a lot of the people who worked on the movie, you know, it was, you know, they were getting paid, but it was almost a passion project for them because, you know, it was they'd never really done films before, quite a few of them, you know, and so a lot of the crew are like, they did their own catering. The camera operator did the catering, you know, they're like the crew members are extras, you know, and a lot of it, you can kind of tell that they had to do guerrilla shooting, you know, it was a non-union film, and in New York, you can't do non-union films. Like,
right.
Like they had to sick the cops on the union people who were hounding them, you know.
Did they put their fingers up in crosses to hiss at other people?
Well, apparently when he's running down the street saying, "I'm a vampire,"
yeah, those are people who aren't in the film. That's why it's shot from afar.
And those are like genuine reactions.
The part where he breaks up the wooden pallet to make the steak, and then he comes up on some people and tries to get them to stake him. And then he's like accosting people outside a church.
Yes, like my girlfriend dumped me. I'm a vampire.
No, the last segment of the movie where he's got the blood goatee and his hair's messed up again, and he's just dragging around this sharpened chunk of wood through the street, and then he bumps into the corner of a building, like this, and he's talking to the corner of the building, and he thinks he's at his psychiatrist's office, and it cuts back and forth to him in the office with his hair right again, without the blood mustache, with his clothes nice, but still holding the piece of wood.
But then people in New York are just like, just another.
Well, yeah, no, it's like, well, you know, I guess they do that, you know.
That was the most beautiful thing I will genuinely say I've ever seen come from him, was when he's walking down the street having a conversation with a new girlfriend that doesn't exist.
Sharon.
And in the span of 10 minutes, he goes from true love to calling her a bitch.
I know, even in his imagination, he cannot succeed with women. That's the best part.
As he said, relationships are hard.
No, Sharon!
His literal dream woman.
Go, keep harping on it. High school cunt.
Oh, you can't accept me because I'm a vampire?
Yeah. Why you keep asking about this vampire thing?
But then, even when everybody convinced him to get out, he wanted to get back in, and he begged Bierman to take him back. And he said, "quote, finally, I went back in because otherwise I'd feel like a coward. It was important for me to take a fucking chance. It was just a great screenplay. It grabbed me by the collar and screamed, 'If you don't do this movie, you're a fucking coward.' It wasn't a practical choice to make, but it was an honest choice. I figured that in order to succeed in this film business, you can't be afraid to roll the dice."
You really have to appreciate that, though. It's like somebody who who doesn't just hoard their success right away, but tries to keep doing what they want to do.
That's a bold move.
No, it is.
To just say fuck my career.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Well, he said that it taught him about how to think of movies as commercially.
Yeah.
And,
well, and eating the
he
cockroach
said-
was a commercial decision, he said, because it was something to raise the profile of the film, and it does, because that was the first thing I ever heard about this movie, was that this is the movie where KG eats a cockroach.
Exactly.
And so it's something that puts it on the map, for good or for ill.
Yeah, he said that he did it because he wanted the audience to have a visceral experience, and that it would, people would still be talking about it today.
And we are.
Here we are talking about
This movie
it.
came out when I was in the first grade.
Oh, wow.
Not that I'm old,
No, but I did tell Adrian during our little intermission that, yes, Linda and I had seen this when we were little kids, but I just mostly remembered him buying the fake vampire teeth and being mad because $20 was a little more than he had on him for, fiberglass teeth. So $5 buys awesome fake vampire teeth.
Oddly enough, all I could remember was the scene with the soup.
Yes, I brought you soup, Alba.
And I was thinking, who the fuck has soup from an envelope?
Maria Conchita Alonso is so afraid of him that she stays home and feigns illness to avoid him. And he shows up at her house pretending to apologize and pays for a cab ride. And then halfway back to the office, he immediately turns back into a bastard and starts yelling at her. And
that's why I love
she makes the cab stop at the gas station so she can get the bullets from her brother to threaten him with. And he's waiting in the car. He's like, "Where is the little cunt?"
But that's why I love this as a comedy. Because I'm like, okay, she didn't show up to work. He's obviously going to call her and harass her. No, he drives to her home. And he's all like, "I have a peace offering. I brought you soup."
It was at the back of my mind that was going to happen. This is the first time I've seen this. And then when he reaches for the Rolodex, I'm like, "Oh God, no!" Because I think that's
wonderful.
the most
He's like,
famous
"Don't
scene.
forget about the account."
Is where he makes the cage face and threatens her.
Alva.
And even if there was somebody who'd been here just one day less than you, I would still make you do it, Alva, because it's a terrible, horrible job. And you have to do it, Alva. You have to, or I'll fire you.
No. It kind of made me feel like it was was this the actual real inspiration for 50 Shades of Grey?
Oh God.
When we get to our face-off, I think I found what makes the most sense out of all of this. So we'll just have to see.
Well, while we're still sort of kind of on the subject of the cockroach, it was supposed to be in the script. He was supposed to eat a raw egg, but fuck, I do that.
Yeah, Rocky already did.
Yeah, like Al Capone. People just do that.
And he didn't feel like it made sense for the character because he thought that since he thinks he's a vampire, he needed to move up the food chain.
Well, it makes sense for the Renfield thing too. Cockroach and then pigeon and then person.
Yeah, so he actually goes from a pistachio to a cockroach to pigeon to person.
And they make ice cream of all of those.
But he said that, quote, "Every muscle in my body was telling me not to eat the roach, and I remember it biting the tip of my finger before I ate it. I was definitely in some altered state thinking about samurai warriors. It didn't just
I remember thinking that. It's like if you're gonna do that, you gotta chomp on that motherfucker fast. You can't hesitate because cockroaches bite the shit out of people. They'll eat your eardrum.
Just fucking do it.
You know?
Yeah. And he said it was soft, kind of like chicken, and there was something sensual about it. I felt kind of sorry for it.
I'd feel sorry for it if it wasn't
horny.
a fucking cockroach. No, the animal rights people came at him for that.
That he got all like sensual about it.
He did. He got
Cage.
sent about the bat in the
He had
fucking
to make
movie.
it weird. He couldn't not make it weird. He wouldn't be Cage if he didn't make it weird.
Yeah, I guess.
But he did. He told his therapist the bat was sensual and turned him on.
In the commentary, he talks about how he choreographed everything in advance. He rehearsed it with his cat.
Wow. Did he have like a half chub?
And it's like, get in my goddamn mouth, cat.
You have got to be kidding me right now.
And apparently he brought his cat with him for the shoot, and the cat like totally fucked up his hotel room.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He wouldn't let them clean it up.
He ended up disinfecting his mouth with 100% proof vodka.
Nice.
I was thinking, like, I don't need a roach for that.
All you need is a shot of vodka and an ounce of cocaine.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
You know your alphabet.
The little moves that he's
was,
doing while he's saying that. He does a Jagger move at the end of it.
I feel like that's like the ultimate Cage moment.
That's when Cage came into cageness.
Yes.
But I think the real moment that it happens, the moment that modern Cage enters this movie is like, am I getting through to you, Alvin?
Yeah.
And he points.
He pulled a Jim Leahy. He became the cocaine.
The mescaline.
Find me the Spiegel file already. God. Misfiled?
Obviously,
Who does that? Who?
He obviously took some of his moves from the silent movies.
Yeah,
and the,
that we got more expression.
Well, yeah, they even showed him watching Nosferatu, and that's when he started acting
Right.
as Nosferatu, which is fucking amazing.
Well, and he said that he used to watch the German expressionist films.
Yeah, you gotta get that Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and shit, you know?
Well, and
and all that early
used
Fritz Lang.
those expressions and the hand gestures, and he said that was part of why he wanted to do the movie, because he saw this as an opportunity to just fucking go above and beyond.
We got that as a
And
continuing theme here. We just, you know, as we recently mentioned in Moonstruck, you know, and you get it also very much oddly enough in Rumblefish, even though not from Cage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Cage oddly enough was the straight man in that movie.
Yeah.
That seems so long ago now.
Bizarre. But he said that, quote, Dracula is one of my favorite characters in literature. Much of my life is modeled after him.
So he's Dracula Heathcliff?
Apparently. I just admire this sensibility. The gothic decor of my homes is inspired by it. To me, Dracula is love in exile.
Haunted
I'm
house!
inspired by that idea. I don't drink blood, but otherwise.
He doesn't drink blood, but his movies eat shit.
I mean, that kind of puts us on the topic of the castle that he owned in Hollywood Hills, which was his first castle. It's not really like a castle,
His
but it's
first
like
castle?
a Victorian home.
Let's ponder that for a moment. Where did all the money go? I wonder.
Yeah, right. It had 3 bathrooms, 4 bedrooms, and a maid's quarter. Ooh. And at that home, he would get mail from for the previous owner, whose name was Peter Laszlo, which he thought was kind of weird because his character's name is Peter Lowe. And
that sounds like a guy in a detective story. It's like they found Peter Laszlo with the aqueduct.
Right.
You know what happens to nosy people? They lose their noses.
But he considered the fact that the name was so similar to his character's name in Vampire's Kiss to just be quote, one of those little terrors in the envelope of space and time that I don't know how to deal with, and I'm not going to address too much, end quote.
Wow.
Do you believe in fate, Mallory?
When I get home, I'm shoving a hot pepper up your ass. That was from Iron Man.
Iron Man, yeah, it was sweet, yeah. It was almost as cool as Iron Man 2, yeah, almost.
But not as good as the Mandarin.
Yeah, wicked sweet. Dawn of Justice.
Christ.
But I think this
is that
is
just
one of
us?
those instances where, like one of the many instances where, like the directors talked about how Cage is just willing to do just about fucking anything for a movie,
And that's his strength.
and and he doesn't question why the character is doing this or that. I mean, he tries to put his input in there, but he doesn't try to like figure out why their motivation. He just creates his own character and goes with it. And I think that like a surrealist like Louis
In the commentary,
really
they made a big point about how there's more than one way to do acting, and there's more to it than just like Stanislavski and like naturalism, you know.
right.
Yeah.
Or then you have Brando, who says he doesn't get method acting because he thinks it's full of shit, and that acting is just lying, and anyone can lie.
Yeah, but that's old
Fucking
Brando
Brando.
when he was over it and he was making fun of Larry King, and that's fine too. You know? Fuck you, Larry King. I'm going to have a cameo in every movie ever as myself because my ego is just that large.
Come at us, King.
Yeah, you can make Cage as artsy as you want, but he's just fucking nuts. And even the Coens said so
that's fine.
last
There's
time.
that
We talked
too.
about that.
Yeah.
Like, we
But
appreciate your
I
input,
really,
but no.
I really like the fact that he followed Moonstruck with this instead of trying another romantic lead, because you know it's like Bob
Yeah.
Dylan. It's like, oh, you like blonde on blonde? Fuck you. Here comes self-portrait. Eat shit. I do what I want.
Well,
Or like
apparently
Neil
he was
Young,
really
yeah.
pissed off with the how it was edited down for the
Yeah,
video.
the version that we saw was actually longer than what was theatrically released. There were a lot of scenes restored that were not in the original version. Like the part where he goes to his psychiatrist and she tries to remind him about the encounter with the bat making him horny, and he pretends not to remember. That wasn't in the original
Yeah.
cut.
kinda makes sense.
I don't know whether that's essential, but you do get to hear Cage say, "Well, I was horny. That's it. I was
Yes,
horny and
my
I was
favorite
drunk.
part. I was drunk and a little horny.
Yeah, a little horny. Yeah. From the girl, you know,
His
really
accent
hot.
makes me think of the comic book guy in The Simpsons. I don't know if it was modeled after this.
Oh yeah.
I still go with Chris Elliott because that's very amazing.
I'll accept
He's
it.
a fancy lad.
He really is a fancy lad. You want to buy a monkey?
But Maria Conchita Alonso said about him, quote, "We'd be having a serious conversation and he'd start making these weird faces. Finally, I'd crack up. At first, he takes you by surprise, but he's extremely generous to work with and funny. He lives in his own world. You accept it or you don't." And then Jennifer Beals said that, quote, "Nicholas would have been a dragon slayer in another time. He has hit this struggle for more to make life more than normal," end quote. And I feel like that's kind of like the best summary of him.
Yeah, and I kind of have this vision of him in Step Brothers. I want to have him, like, I want us to meet him and then him say, "My name is Dragon Slayer." It's like, okay.
So, speaking of Jennifer Beals, by the way, Jennifer Flashdance Beals, apparently this is the first film that she did after she was in Frank Rodham's The Bride in 1985. The fuck awful
right.
Bride of Frankenstein movie with Sting.
Yeah, so she went from a Frankenstein movie to a vampire
she
movie.
did the worst fucking Frankenstein movie and then had a 3-year hiatus and then did this.
Wah, wah.
And then she was in Turbulence 2, Fear of Flying.
Wow.
And I love that that Maria Conchita Alonso says that he's very generous to work with, because I'm thinking like, well, yeah, that's got to be true. I mean, he's so fucking over the top. Like, how do you?
Oh, I'm gonna make you appear subtle by comparison.
He should have played Hunter S. Thompson, because he could nail.
Oh, you know what? That would have been
outbursts.
interesting. You know that they've been trying to make Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas into a movie since the book came out.
Yeah,
and one of the first pairings for that movie was going to be Jack Nicholson as Hunter Thompson and fucking
really?
Marlon Brando as Dr. Gonzo, and that would have been epic.
Holy shit. That would have been like, oh yeah.
And they did get paired together later in Missouri Breaks by Arthur Penn, which is also amazing, but in a different way.
Fucking Marlon Brando though. And,
Well, I fucking love Brando.
I do, and it's kind of like, as much as I shit on Bill Murray, I still liked him in Where the Buffalo Roam.
Oh, Where the Buffalo Roam.
Yeah.
That's such a fucking train wreck. It's such a slow motion fucking train wreck.
I know.
But you know what? No, Bill Murray is the only thing about that. If you look at it not as a movie and but only as a Bill Murray performance, it's fine. It just entirely falls apart at looking at it from any other angle. Like it's such a fucking catastrophe.
Well, even Hunter said it's like between him and Johnny Depp, it's like one of them got Hunter, the other got Gonzo.
Yeah.
It's like that's how he looks at it. But also, I kind of look at it as Bill Murray, that was him playing an early version of his character in Caddyshack. That's what his character became.
Yeah. You're lean, mean, and not too far
This is my
between.
grass I grew myself.
It's no big deal.
Yeah, you can play 18 holes on this stuff and get smoked off your ass after 18 holes.
When I was a kid, my parents didn't want to let me watch Caddyshack. They were disturbed by it. They thought that Bill Murray's performance was like offensive in some way.
Wow.
Yeah,
What?
my parents, despite the fact that they're fairly progressive in most senses, can be a real couple of fucking squares, I swear. But movies I should not have seen included that, The Shining, A Clockwork Orange, The Godfather. All these things were over the top and excessive to them. I'm like, compared to what?
Yeah.
couldn't see Caddyshack, so what?
Yeah, so let's dance!
It's the devil.
Well, when the mid-90s rolled around and they realized I was going to do what I want, they let me rent all of this eventually,
Yeah.
But they were really down on all of it, can't watch The Exorcist.
Well,
Yes, Lindar?
I think that Donnie and I were lucky because our parents didn't filter jack shit.
I noticed you had sort of the opposite experience.
Actually, I don't know if I should say that we're lucky because
but my
fucked me up.
I saw a lot of TV edits of things, but even stuff that was taped for the television, my mom would still put her hand in front of the screen for certain parts. Like, no, that's like sex back there. It's like, you're not Catholic anymore, right? Knock it off.
Yeah. It's like one of my favorite events that ever happened, and why I bless all fucking old videotape rental stores, was this woman was like, she knew I loved horror films. And she's like, here, this one is like a really good one. You'll totally love it. I'm like, yeah? She's like, yeah. It's like a guy gets his weenie cut off with a knife in a bathtub. She was going to give a fucking under 10-year-old kid, I spit on your grave. I was like, you are a fucked up woman, but you're all right. I did enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
But wasn't that the same video rental place where I think you got Texas Chainsaw
one?
Massacre?
Oh, I fucking love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The 1974 one.
Wrong movie.
Oh, no.
It wasn't a chainsaw. What happened
was it The Next Generation?
My mom rented Superman, and she put it in, and she was cleaning the house, and I was laughing my ass off hysterically. She's like, what the hell? Superman's not a funny movie. And she comes to check on me, and apparently they switched out the tape with Debbie Does Dallas by accident.
That's right.
So, yeah.
And here we are today.
Whereas I was a little kid getting traumatized by G-rated movies.
I can't remember we got to go back. We got to get back on track before we start talking about 9/11.
You're gonna have quite the time editing this down.
Talking about other performers, it featured his brother Mark Coppola as an extra who tells the kind of shitty joke in the scene where he meets.
Right, yeah, he walks up to Jennifer Beals and says, "Did you get that?"
Which every woman loves when a guy like tries to make you feel stupid.
Mansplains.
And also in that scene, I believe is David Hyde Pierce as David Pierce, who's I think he's at the end of the bar talking to somebody.
It's fucking random.
Yeah, but his brother Mark used to be a pretty big DJ for like in the 70s up through the 90s, I believe, in New York and San Diego. Who, what now?
Whose brother?
Nick Cage's brother, Mark Coppola.
So his brother's the DJ and he's the vampire?
God damn it.
Rockula for the win!
One of these days I'm going to have to watch that thing.
For the last time. Wait, whoa. You haven't seen
Okay, there's some shit that you haven't seen too, young lady.
Okay, before we go any further, can you Google just Rockula and look at the cover and tell me how you would not confuse that with Vampire's Kiss?
Hold on.
I'm not astonished that you haven't seen it. I'm just so fucking excited because this gives us the opportunity to show you Rockula.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's got the guitar with the spider web on it, and yeah.
Yes, and it looks like Nicolas Cage.
It looks like a young Cage had sex with a young Alec Baldwin.
Honestly,
it has Thomas Dolby in it.
What the shit, really?
To go even further, the
god, okay, yeah. The original video cover there, that does look like Cage. Yeah,
they look like Cage just as much as Tom Hanks's brother looks like Tom Hanks.
But anyway, so that's another episode of another podcast.
Yeah, Jesus.
Now back to 9/11.
I want to talk about the part with Sharon, though.
Oh, please do. Sharon,
for me that was the height of the movie. That was where it all came together and all became worthwhile. Where he imagines he's in a psychiatrist's office and she's matchmaking with him, something a psychiatrist is not allowed to do, by the way. Like, it's like, oh, you're just like my next patient. Let's put you two together. Your problems will cancel each other out. And it keeps cutting back to him in reality, like on the street corner, talking to the call and being like, oh, Sharon, what a beautiful name.
And then he tells his therapist, Dr. Glazer, that he raped somebody at work.
Confesses to the rape and then the murder.
She says, quote, it's just a little id release. No use to worry.
Yeah, it's like, I think I killed someone too. It's like, people get murdered every day.
It's New York. Who's going to notice?
Would you stop worrying and just get on with your big romance?
I'll take care of the police.
Have a wonderful life together, and I will take care of the cops.
And then he's yelling at imaginary Sharon within 5 minutes.
Calling her a cunt.
I will give him props, though. He made an amazing coffin, turning a couch upside down and using books to leverage it.
That was fucking hilarious. He's got the shittiest fucking one-room New York apartment too. Oh, which probably costs like $2,000 a month.
Yeah, we just kind of look over.
Oh, god damn it.
Yeah. Well, I guess he's supposed to be pretty well off.
Well, no, that's the thing though. Is like even if you're doing well in New York, you're not doing that well just because everything costs so much more. You know.
Yeah,
it's true. Like working in Seattle and earning like $20 an hour, but then you're living over in somewhere Primerton.
Yeah, unless you commute, your life is shit.
I literally did that.
Yeah. It's like, I'm earning big money, but I come home with minimum wage.
Yeah. Government do take a bite, don't she?
Yeah.
But this had some mixed reviews. But he
Shut up,
Don't
critics.
say.
Yeah, right. It earned him a nomination as Best Male Lead from the Film Independent Spirit Awards, and he won the Best Actor award from Catalonian International Film Festival.
That's a new one on me. But
Yeah, nothing huge, I guess. But
this is a movie that was largely
I don't know.
rediscovered, I think.
Yeah, right. And as I said before, like it can be pretty goddamn hard to watch.
Well,
But
it's just
I
like
feel
you
like-
have to not think of it as a movie, or not think of it so much
Yeah.
as a movie.
And every Cage fan really needs to see it at least once.
No.
just to behold.
You're watching it to
majesty of
experience
what
the
is
complete
Cage.
unhinged Cage.
No.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
watch Rockula. It did the movie better.
God damn it! Okay,
if you
so
wanna
I guess
watch
it's time
this
for
movie,
Face
watch
Off.
Speaking of
this movie
things,
as a
speaking of things
documentary.
done better, though, this movie, strong echoes of another movie, which I believe was also 1989. I feel like this is the good version of Bright Lights, Big City with Michael J. Fox. Except, it's not boozing, womanizing, and drugs and grief over his mother's death that have unhinged him. He's a vampire, kind of.
Yes.
And I feel like, since we're in Face Off, I feel
take his
like
face.
obviously there's American Psycho.
Yeah, because that's another one that later on, Bret Easton Ellis, taking apart, late 80s New York culture. Yeah.
Honestly, and I'm surprised we haven't touched on it yet, I would legitimately see this again if instead of Cage, you had Tommy Wiseau playing the part, because this looks like his life story. Like, he watched this, a very middle-aged Tommy Wiseau in the theater.
Also, maybe
And
Johnny is
this
vampire.
is my life. Even when Cage tears apart his room in a fit, that was straight out of the room later on. He's like, I need to do this again.
And this is the perfect time to point out that, like, during his big crying emotional scene, he
says,
literally
"Boo-hoo."
sobs, "Boo-hoo!"
Yes, see? That's why I was saying this all makes sense when you see the room, because, this is what Tommy Wiseau
I'm a
was
vampire.
aiming
Does
for.
anybody have a gun?
Yeah.
I'll prove it to
Everybody
you.
betray me. Boo!
Which I will give credit to this movie, though I don't want to give it any credit. Nick Cage dies at the end of this.
does.
Spoilers.
With the goddamn
And it's the
wooden
most
stake through his side.
amazing, lazy death scene.
No, he just holds it there for the guy to squish it into him.
Yes, Alma's brother is she tells him her boss raped her, so they wait outside his apartment for him. She's like, that's the man who did this to me. And he's like, all right, I'm going to go there and even things out, which means putting a stake through Nicolas Cage's
Well,
heart.
I think initially he was just going to beat him up a little bit because he had the tire iron.
He
I don't think he was
was.
going to go all the way and kill him, but Cage is there on the floor acting like a jackass and holding the wooden stake over his chest. It was an open invitation.
Which even then, it's kind of funny when you look at it, because Cage doesn't even hold it over his heart. He has it in his gut. He is going to take a while to die. He chose the most painful realization that he's not a vampire.
Well, and I'm sure that this movie was supposed to be about the white
The fall of
patriarchy.
Yeah, no, he can't.
rapaciousness of-
The theme is there. Yeah, no, he can't react to women telling him what to do. He has to end things so they can't end things. He has to end his sessions with his shrink so she can't end them. And when
then that's
when
kinda where
Casey
the mental
Lemmons
breakdown-
leaves the napkin, that's when he rips apart his apartment. He can't take it.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's to me, that's the whole thing with this, is that he had a girlfriend. She broke up with him. It led him to a string of one night stands that meant nothing. His life is falling apart. All the pressure of his job is adding on to it. And the man just had a breakdown.
Yeah, he got a boner
And
when he
just
fought
shat
a
all
bat.
over Alva. He shat all over her because he was mad about all the things the woman he loved did to
Yeah,
him.
the one woman who basically couldn't, who was powerless against him. Yeah.
Yes, which got into a whole other fucking wonderful subcategory of films of, women tear my life apart, so I have to treat them like shit because of it.
That's also, if we're looking at the late 80s and shit like that, that's around the time you get people doing lecture series about men doing this to women on purpose.
True.
You get this.
Secretary did it better.
Yeah.
I love the Spader, but
Spader.
Spader.
I don't know when I got in the habit of saying Spader like Hodor.
You guys ever see Tough Turf? Tough Turf is badass.
No. I still
can't
think
say
this
that.
movie would have been better had Cage been killed instead of with a steak with a ham bone. A jeweled ham bone.
God damn it.
A rhinestone.
All right, Adrian,
ham
you've got to watch Rockula with us.
Apparently.
So, what kernels of cagey wisdom did you guys find?
Wow. Well, you know.
When your boss says to shoot me or I'll fire you, take the unemployment?
No, this is another lesson in persistence. All his abuse of Alva wound up getting that contract found. The fact that he went nuts and savaged her afterwards.
It was too late.
It's just too late.
It was too.
And the author was looking for the contract, calls him up, and he's just totally cool. It's like, yeah, no rush. I'm going on a trip. It is cool. You know.
I'd say that it's one, don't fuck with Maria Conchita Alonso.
Right?
And two, a great psychoanalyst and the right meds go a long way.
Also, don't believe your boss if he shows up at your house with soup.
Also, socks are optional when you're at work, apparently.
Oh, also, if you're going to iron in your bra, maybe close the blinds.
Yeah.
You know, if you're feeling that way, you know.
Okay, well, if you leave the blinds open, then don't be surprised when your boss comes up.
You're reminding me of Adam 12 right now. Of the TV show Adam 12. You guys ever see Adam 12?
No.
It's the uniform police show from the early 70s. They had resurgence later. So you know how in Law and Order SVU, you know, and all that, it's all like women aren't asking for it. How dare you? On Adam 12, when women make similar complaints, it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have been asking for it.
Oh God!
There's a woman who's getting obscene phone calls in one episode, and Martin Milner's like, well, do you wear that kind of thing all the time? And she walks out of the room, and him and the other cop are like, she sure is hot. Yep, sure is.
So with that,
You've come a long way, baby.
Please listen, follow, rate, and review Cage's Kiss on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and YouTube. We're also now on Podcoin, where you can earn rewards for just listening to podcasts, which is pretty rad. If you create an account because you want to check it out, use our code Cage's Kiss, of course, without that apostrophe, and all is one word.
Oh, God, are we whoring that much now?
We're whoring.
Well, if they do it, they get 300 points and we get 300 points. So
Yeah, give me those damn points. You're going to want to give us more points because next week we got a twofer. We're watching two magically obscure Cage movies, one of which is just a cameo.
Oh,
We're doing Never on Tuesday and the Italian Time to Kill. By the way, my Time to Kill DVD that had the wrong description on the back turns out to be the right Time to Kill.
And it's not to be confused with the what was it? Sandra Bullock movie?
So this doesn't have the A on it. This is why when people say titles and they say the wrong or a wrong or something like that, this is why I harp on it, because there's always going to be 6 movies called that because the title was never that original. But this is a movie about a guy in Mussolini's army in Africa during World War II, whereas A Time to Kill is that thing with Matthew McConaughey and Samuel L. Jackson about the guy doing vigilante justice for a rape. This has nothing to do with that.
And he makes a lizard smoke a cigarette. So there's
Why
that.
not?
Cheech and Chong did that too.
Dave's not here, man.
And I'd like to take a moment to tell you all about an awesome new podcast I started listening to. They're also our friends on Twitter. Suck My
They're not my
Fanfic is a really awesome, fun weekly podcast where two guys, Alex and Ryan, share and review fanfic from different fandoms.
and Ryan.
And their third episode is aptly called National Treasure because it is about our
Holy
national
shit.
treasure. And Liam Neeson.
I was at the hospital. I have AIDS.
Well,
So
Liam
remember-
Neeson is a national treasure.
You could find Cage's Kiss on Facebook and on Twitter at Cage's Kiss. You can visit our website at cageskiss.com, and you can write to us at cageskiss@gmail.com. Donnie, Adrian, what you got?
Donnie, you're Squilgar the Twi'lek.
No!
Yes! Yes!
Unreal Goals on Twitter, because why not? The Boy Who Blew on RedTube. And apparently still got the Twi'lek on Instagram.
I'm not.
And look for me jumping on top of D. Wallace's table at Crypticon. And then look for me at your local police office where I'll be serving time.
I mentioned my YouTube, but I haven't updated it in a while. But I will mention my DeviantArt. My group Dreadful Tales had an issue come out today, so you might tune in for that and watch the old-timey pulpy goodness. My DeviantArt is under Leo the Fox, all lowercase, all rolled together. And that's on DeviantArt. Pay no attention to those fake Leo the Foxes that are on Facebook and such. I don't know who they are, but they're probably bastards. I don't know.
They're whores.
Whores!
I'm just saying, I've been using my name since 2003. I don't know where they get off.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So, until next week.
Torches of the Damned!
Tortures of the Damned.
Torches of the
Oh, vampire!
And dream of me, my angel.
Shoo! Shoo!
Cage.